Hi, Joe. Hope you're well, mate. Haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for giving up your time. We won't keep you very long.
No, but that don't worry.
Another season ended prematurely. Very disappointing for everybody. We had a tough start, but it's going well, would you say?
Yeah, it's one of them where everyone's looked at it and thought we potentially had the chance to go on and do well again. Obviously, the season before ending in the same way, it was a bit sort of frustrating, really, because I feel like the lads felt we were on a really good run. Like we were playing out of our skin. We were walking over teams, really, come the end of it. And even like when we weren't playing well, we were grinding out results. So it was one of them things. I think we were just on a roll, and then obviously the sort of third lockdown kicked in, and it was just it was one of them things. It was always expected. I think with obviously the way things were going at the time, obviously the numbers and stuff weren't great, but we were just cracking on with our footy, and we were smashing it, to be fair. And then obviously it just got curtailed. It's one of them things. We can't do nothing about it as players. So all we can do is be ready for whenever anything comes about, really, which is obviously it's come to fruition that the Vase game will be in mid-April. So just have to kick on and do as best we can when we can, really.
How have you been keeping fit during this lockdown?
So just like a lot of the lads, really, just running out on the roads. I do that quite a lot anyway, just even throughout the season, just as a bit of a leisurely thing, really. Probably done a little bit too much with the lockdowns, with both times struggling with a little bit of a niggle in my foot, but I've knocked the sort of run on the head, going more sort of just on the static bike and things, just making sure that I'm right for when the football comes back. So I think as footballers, we get a bit used to just sort of training games, and then when something like this happens, we sort of change the way we're doing things, and it can sort of bring these things about. But yeah, just doing as much as I can, really, just trying to do a bit of interval stuff, some higher intensity stuff, just trying to replicate sort of them match intensities. Thankfully, I'm quite lucky in terms of that. I don't really struggle with fitness massively, so when I come back, I'm always sort of pretty sort of fit, sort of cardiovascular wise. So thankfully that's just one of them things. But been doing as much as I can, obviously around restrictions and things like that. But just trying to keep ticking over and making sure that we're all ready to go.
Before the season ended, were you happy with your own form? You were a regular starter by the time things came to an end.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose when I was trying to think earlier on today in terms of when I signed for Shildon, was like Christmas-ish, just after Christmas last year, and I only sort of managed to get in maybe like 3 or 4 games before the first lockdown and the first wave kicked in. And even at that point, I'd sort of picked up form and had scored a few. And then this season, yeah, I was happy with it, to be honest. I was growing into sort of the team, getting sort of a bit more of an idea how things were working, and we'd sort of settled on a bit of a lineup and a formation. And like all the lads seem to click with it, and for me, it's one of them things where it just gives me a bit more scope to just release myself, go forward, rather than worrying back towards my own goal so much as I've done in previous roles for previous clubs. So yeah, I was happy with how I was playing, sort of come towards the end of obviously when everything stopped. I'd always like to add a few more goals. I think that's something that I'll be definitely trying to do when things kick back up, just trying to get in more sort of goal scoring opportunities, more goal scoring areas, things where I might score a few tap-ins or something like that. I think that's something I could do with adding to my game. But in terms of overall, just overall performances and things like that, yeah, I was happy. I think I was we were, as a team, we were doing well, and I think individually I was doing well as well.
You played most of your games out on the right. Would you say that's your best position?
Yeah, right or left. I like both, either way. It's one I've played as I come to Shildon, it was more like I've always been a winger, so to speak. I played like midfield when I was younger, so like talking like 12, 13, 14, and then as I got slightly older, evolved more into that winger as I was a bit sort of smaller than people, a bit quicker and stuff. And then I was always playing like wing back and things like that in sort of last few seasons. So I think while that sort of did develop that defensive eye and defensive side, like I've always been going forward, like that's been my thing. So yeah, going forward out wide is obviously my favourite sort of position. Yeah, that's where I tend to sort of find myself more comfortable on the pitch, whether that be as a 4 or a 3. Don't really mind, or whether that be on the right or the left, don't really mind, as long as I'm on the pitch and I'm playing, I'll play anywhere, to be honest. It's one of them things. But yeah, right or left, really. Left cutting in, right, get some balls in.
I was going to say, I couldn't imagine you playing centre half.
Hey, if it had to be done, it'd have to be done. Wouldn't be winning many headers, put it that way.
A lot of your game centres around your pace. Are you the quickest at our club, or can any of your teammates give you a run for your money? We asked this question to Dominic, and he said he'd stuff you.
He's got long legs, hasn't he? He's got an advantage, probably. Yeah, definitely. There's a few. I reckon Sweetie's up there with a bit of pace about him as well. Let's have a think. Billy's quick when he gets going. He gets his long levers going. He can shift a little bit. I think over sort of 5, 10 yards, 5, 10, 15 yards, I'd be up there, to be fair. But there's a few that will definitely sort of chase us down easy. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, Kurt's got a turn of foot as well. There's a few that are down the bottom though. There's a few that we won't mention. They're a little bit slower. I won't name names, but they know who they are.
At Bootle in the Vase, we saw you cut inside and curl ball in with your left foot. Is that something you'd practice a lot in training?
No, I think it's just become one of them things. That game actually, we had a bit. Huddy was having a bit of crack after the game, because I think there was a couple of instances before the goal where I'd sort of done a little bit of a step over with the right to come in on the left, and either sort of had to lay it off, or maybe he's had a shot or a cross that had sort of come to nothing. And I didn't actually hear him, but I think he was giving me a bit of stick on the bench saying, why is he not going down the outside of the full-back? So anyway, like 5 minutes later, obviously I'd done the same thing and stuck it in the bottom corner, thankfully. And he was having a bit of crack after the game saying, I always said you should come inside on that left foot. It's not something that I practice. It's just something that I think maybe I'm a little bit comfortable with, like starting that maybe is a little bit of a trick with the right and coming in on the left. And I've probably scored as many as I have with my right foot over the years as I have my left. I just tend to be one of them things. I practice more as a kid with my left foot. Like my granddad used to take me to the park and he would like say like, you're not allowed to use your right foot and things like that. So I've just tended to sort of be all right with it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not just for standing on. So I've actually developed quite a bit of a decent left foot over the years. So it's not something I necessarily practice. It's just one of them things that when you're in a game, it's just comes to you, like it's just, you don't think about it. Do you know what I mean?
You made a name for yourself among our fans with a substitute performance against our close neighbours. Would you still call that your best performance for Shildon? Or have you beaten that now?
In terms of sort of sheer performance, I would say it was probably not my best game. I think obviously you come on, you score 2 when you're getting beat 1-0. It's always
big impact.
yeah. So it's impactful, but in terms of overall performance, I don't think I really had much to do other than score the goals, to be honest. And obviously in the same game, Sean saved pulled a worldie save out for a penalty. So I wouldn't say it was definitely one of my best performances. I think in that same batch, I think when we played away at Hebburn and we won 1-0, I think personally that was a really good performance, just in terms of it was like I was still really fresh into the side, and I feel like I sort of, that was when I would just cemented my place to move on for them last sort of 7-8 games. This season, looking back, there was some decent performances, but I would say probably wouldn't be my best. I wouldn't have it down as my best performance. If you were looking at like highlights and things.
You got a lot of praise for your performance at Stockton in the Vase. Is that up there with your games?
What, the last game?
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, because I had a little bit of an injury before that, and obviously the Hallam game I didn't start because of that, and then I came back into the side for the Stockton game. So I think I was a little bit rusty. I don't know. I probably wouldn't say that was one either. But if people sort of want to say that it is, then I won't sort of stand in the way. I think probably looking back, trying to think when we maybe sort of the Seaham game when we come back, we were getting beat sort of 2-1 at half time. We come back to win 5-2. I think that was a pretty good performance for myself. Obviously getting on the score sheet and stuff. But just individually, like with things that I had to do on the ball and things, I think that was probably one of my better games.
Over the course of like season just gone, what's the match day experience been like for yourself? Obviously under COVID restrictions.
I wouldn't say the main difference for me is the fans, really, is not having anyone there. In terms of like changing room and stuff like that, like there's not a massive amount of difference. Obviously there's like social distancing, hand sanitizer and all that jazz, face masks in and around, so you know something's going on, and obviously with social distancing's a big thing as well. But yeah, for me the biggest thing is no fans. It's weird not having anyone there. It feels a bit like sometimes it can feel a bit like a pre-season friendly, unless you've sort of got yourself up for a big game. Like the Stockton Vase game that we played last, there'd have been nigh on 600, 700, 800 there easy. It'd have been absolutely packed, yet there was only sort of 150 there. That's the main difference for me, is not having the fans there sort of play in front of them. Obviously we're not talking like thousands here, we're talking like a few hundred maybe every home game, 300-400, but in a place like Dean Street or these Northern League grounds where we play at, it does make a big difference. And I think especially Shildon fans as well, the sort of bit that I got a sort of a bit that I sort of got to experience before the first lockdown, like a really positive, like there's no animosity among the fans, there's no sort of slating any players for giving a ball away or anything like that. It's all very sort of positive and sort of constructive, which is really, really good. So you're always gonna lose out when you've not got people on the sideline cheering you on and sort of encouraging you. But that for me is the main one, really, is the fans, to be honest.
How did you come to sign for Shildon, Joe? You signed the week after a man of the match performance against us. Were things ongoing before that match?
They weren't, no. So it was sort of a really sort of funny period around that time, because obviously as a club of Thornaby, obviously we just come up and stuff. We didn't really have the squad to compete at Northern League One. We were sort of just treading water. Started off really poorly, obviously against yourselves in that season, obviously against us now. And we were just sort of like treading water, and obviously things went further on, and the managers there ended up losing the jobs, losing the job, the managers and assistants manager job. And around that time, there was a couple of sort of clubs that had put sort of 7 days in for me, so like wanted to sort of sign me, and as soon as I'd sort of spoke to, like, as soon as I found out Shildon were one of them, I was really keen to sort of to talk. And then obviously I spoke to Bobby, and Bobby was spot on, and he's class. He sort of just said everything that I sort of needed to know, really. It was spot on. And obviously I've known Shildon are a big club in our area anyway for a long time, just through playing. So it was one of them things where I was always keen to get it over the line, and then coming in and seeing all the lads playing under Bobby and Huddy is spot on. Like, you couldn't ask for anything more. And then people behind the scenes like yourselves, Di, David, Sue, Norman, everyone's just spot on. So the whole club's like a little family. So it was one of them things where it was just there wasn't anything going on before that point. Before I sort of signed, it was quite a quick thing in terms of put 7 days in for me. I think there was a bit of a sort of restriction put on it from the club at our side, because we still had games to play and things like that. And then as soon as I spoke to Bobby, it was pretty much a done deal, really.
You've just mentioned the game against us. We beat Thornaby 8-1. What were your thoughts that day, John?
It was a tough one. It was one that you would like sort of try to forget straight away. I'll never forget, because obviously growing up a Hartlepool United fan, and obviously with Robbo playing in that sort of 2005 team where they went to playoff finals and obviously lost against Sheffield and things like that. Around that era was what Robbo was playing. I grew up watching him. Do you know what I mean? And then I remember starting obviously against Shildon, playing wing back, and Robbo was obviously, I think he was playing left wing that day. And I'll never forget the first goal that Shildon scored was like, I think Craigsy had like clipped it over to sort of the back edge of the box. It was like the top corner of the box, is in like where I would be defending. The ball's dropped to Robbo's foot, and he's absolutely sided one like with loads of swaz on it straight in the bottom corner. And ran off, and I was getting it in the ear from our gaffer saying like, you've got to get closer to him. And I was like, he's just absolutely pinged one from the edge of the box. Like, what am I meant to do? And from then on, it was just a bit of a walkover, really. I remember, I think Billy scored a hat-trick as well. Looking back, it was one of them ones where you just sort of think, good side, take it and move on. One of them ones you try and forget. I think there was a point in the game where obviously you went 1-0 up with that goal, and we equalised, and we sort of rallied a little bit, thought we were doing quite well, and then the floodgates opened, really, and it just became a bit embarrassing. Thankful to be on the other side now.
From the season just gone, what would you say your favourite moment would be?
Favourite moment would be probably the first goal of Bootle was a one, because it was a tough game. It was windy. We'd struggled first half really to get going. We didn't really have much going for us, and it was one of them ones where it could have went either way. Like, Bootle were a cracking side, like they were knocking it about quite well at the time. We sort of grew into the game, and I think that goal really I think it set us on a bit of a run in terms of the Vase as well. It was like, right, we sort of announced ourselves. We were like, right, we're here to win it, really. Like we don't want to mess about. Like we want to win the thing. Do you know what I mean? So that was probably one of my favourite moments. But I think overall, like you can't look past the Stockton 3-1, especially when obviously they grabbed the goal back at like 70 odd minutes, I think it was, or 80th minute maybe. And then Dino's gone and absolutely sunk one in the top bin in 87th minute or something. And yeah, all the lads piling in. It was class. Obviously, we went to know then that it would be another 4 months before we'd have another game. But for us then, it was class. Like all the lads were just absolutely buzzing, and rightly so. It was a great performance.
You just mentioned it's 4 months by the time the game comes on. It'll be 4 months since we last played. How difficult is it going to be to come back and just take up where we left off?
Yeah, it will be in a sense that it's hard to carry that momentum that we did have. Like we were coursing really at that point, especially sort of. I know we'd had a couple of results in the league where we sort of drew one away to Riot that was a bit of a sucker punch really. That sort of, although we were still unbeaten, it was like one we really sort of expected to win. We sort of controlled that game, and it was one of them ones where it could have sort of dampened us down, and it could have sort of put us in a bit of a lull going into the Bootle game. But it's one of them things. As long as we sort of apply ourselves right and we sort of get our heads on the game early enough, commit to training and make sure that we're really sort of in the right mindset, work on things that we want to work on, then we give ourselves the best chance. It's not an ideal situation because it's never like in my lifetime, my parents' lifetime, my nana and granddad's lifetime, like they've never seen anything like this. It's not something that you just have to wing it. Like it's the same for both sides. Just get out there and put the ball in the back of the net. Simple as, really. Just got to try and do as best we can.
Do you know a lot about the opponents, Warrington Rylands?
I don't. I haven't looked into them at all. Obviously, it only just recently been announced with the Vase coming back. I think we'd sort of all just waited for things to sort of the murmurs of things to get ramped up before everyone sort of started thinking about football again, really. But I haven't. I know that they're a good side up in the league they're in. Are they unbeaten? Maybe it's in this season.
I'm not sure as you are. I know they're up there in the league.
Yeah. So I mean, look, they're in the this round of the Vase. They're not going to be a bad side. You know what I mean? There's no mugs now. We've got. Do you
ever look at opponents before they come round and say like who you would personally will be up against? Do you do that?
Not really. No, I just sort of worry about my own game in terms of like in the league and stuff like that. Like we'll always have a look at like form and things like that. And sometimes lads on the other team that might play in your opposition, things like that you might be up against. In terms of sort of outside teams, I personally don't. I know Bobby and Hoodie like to get out and watch them really if they can. Obviously not ideal with COVID restrictions and travel stuff at the minute, but I know Bobby and Hoodie do a lot of sort of groundwork beforehand and try and scope things out and see how maybe they play. But yeah, I don't know much about them at the minute, but I'm sure that in the coming weeks in training and things, Bobby and Hoodie will have us prepared, like they always do. They'll have us raring to go and knowing exactly what we're facing.
Is the prospect of Wembley one of the main factors to go out and win the game?
Oh yeah, of course it is. It's everyone's dream growing up, really, isn't it? Like playing like an FA Cup final or just playing a professional game. Playing a game at Wembley is like the icing on the cake, isn't it? And especially our level that we play at, it's the pinnacle. Like the Vase is the Vase. Like as soon as the Vase comes around, like you're starting to think, we want to take this seriously. And obviously, when you get on a run like this, it's one of them things. Yeah, you think about. You're starting to think maybe it's right. Oh, we're 4 games away from Wembley now. Like this, it's doable. You know what I mean? People have done it before. Like why can't we? But it's funny. Like you look back at the first round first preliminary round that we played against Chesley Street at our place, and it was like scraped through 2-1. You know what I mean? I think it was a penalty.
RCA away, Joe, 2-0 down.
RCA away, 2-0 down. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them things you can't. It's like the FA Cup in terms of like anything goes. Like good teams go to bad teams and get beat, and vice versa. And so as long as you come out of that 90 minutes or 120 minutes penalties in the half of the next round, then the job done. Obviously, league performances and things like that, they take precedent. The performance takes precedent really sometimes, and we want to play well and win. But in the Vase, it's just win however means necessary and get the job done, which is what we've done. And thankfully, we've managed to sort of do it with a bit of flair the last sort of few games that we've played, especially like Bootle, Hallam, and Stockton, 3 good sides. Like we've turned up against them and put a shift in. Like so, yeah. It's Wembley is always there in the view, but you just take it one step at a time. And the next game against Warrington Rylands is the biggest one that we'll play up to now. So yeah.
So if we manage to get through the next round, the round after that's national, would you prefer a winnable tie at home, or would you prefer one of these famous bus trips home where you can celebrate?
Well, the bus trip home's always good crack anyway. I mean, you'd always take a home tie, just in terms of going in your favour and just being a bit more settled and things like that. But yeah, the Vase is all about bit about the experience as well. So I mean, I'd take any as long as we get through. I'm not bothered. We haven't had many home ties really. This is only our second home tie in the Vase. Obviously the first game we played being at home, and then the rest have been away, haven't they? So I love it and love another couple of home ties. And just try and use sort of, obviously not the fans, but just the environment and things like that to our advantage. Maybe sort of you got to sort of take whatever small advantage you can get at this stage really. So after this one, who knows? It could be a right long bus trip away. Who knows? But as long as we get through, that's all that matters.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe. If you never made it as a footballer, you could always represent England at talking. You're pretty good, mate.
I know, shocking, man. Have I beat Aidan or what?
I think you might have.
Have I pipped him?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. 25 minutes, I think, so.
All right, I'll take that. That's all right.
Done well. Better than Kurt anyway. So.
Oh, I bet it was brilliant. I bet it was class. Can't wait to watch it.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Joe.
No bother, lads. Thanks very much. All the best. Keep safe.
We'll see you very soon.
Yep.
Thank you very much, man.
See you later.
See you later.
Hello there. Just a reminder, the virtual tickets are on sale for the Shildon Warrington Rylands game on the 17th of April. Details in the description below. Remember, any ticket sales will be a great benefit to both clubs. You can also go to our website and Twitter for more details.